Reckless, what's going on? It is time for another week of our leader spotlight. And if you joined us last week, it was the kind of the first week of this where we're just spotlighting a different leader or a group of leaders, many of which that serve with us on a weekly basis, and just to have some fun and ask them some questions and some information that maybe you don't know about, but then also too just to get their perspective on this crazy season that we all find ourselves in and what they're learning and how they're being challenged and things like that. So our leader for this week honestly deserves or needs no introduction. Many of you know him. Many of you have seen him around. He's been on stage at Reckless before. And he served in student ministry since before I ever came to Westridge. In fact, he's been around a long time. Now, I'm not going to say he's old, but here's a few facts about him. He actually happened to be with Moses and the Israelites when they were freed from Egypt, which is crazy. He's childhood friends with William Shakespeare, old Billy. He single-handedly, I don't know if you knew this, he single-handedly ended the American Civil War in 1860. He just said, guys, enough's enough. Let's stop this, and single-handedly ended it. He's the person that invented the telephone. A lot of people mistakenly think that Alexander Graham Bell did that, but that actually was our next guest. He walked uphill to school both ways every single day. And he's even, if this tells you anything else, he's even an elder at Westridge Church. So my guest this week, please welcome Ken Buwalda. Ken, come on in. What's up, man?
You're going to get paid back for all that, Todd.
Come on, man. Those are all 100% true. I would never lie on something like this.
Well, the Red Sea thing was me. Yeah. The parting of the Red Sea. Yeah.
I mean, what was that like? That had to have been pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. The fishing was really good too, for some reason. They were everywhere.
Got some big fish. That's awesome. So, man, I want to, before we get into a couple questions, I'm going to ask you, one of the things that students may not know about you is that you're an avid runner. Is that you would agree with that, right? That's not a lie.
No, that's not a lie at all. In fact, over the last 6.5 weeks, I've been banned from my favorite place, Kennesaw Mountain, but that hasn't stopped me from going there. So what I do is I take some donuts in a box with me each time I go. And if the park rangers see me, I drop the box of donuts and they go for the donuts and then I take off.
So you're running illegally at Kennesaw Mountain, huh?
Yeah, every day, man.
Wow.
Ramped it up. I'm up to 55 miles a week now. So
that's awesome. There are many times where I have picked up the phone and called you like, hey, I need to talk to Ken about something. And I'll call you and you sound like just a little bit out of breath, like what most of us would sound like if we're walking up a flight of stairs. And I'm like, man, what are you doing right now? And, oh, I'm just out for a jog. And you're in the middle of like a 10-mile run or something crazy.
Right. You get to gain the benefit of it by osmosis that way.
Something like that. I don't feel any healthier, but it's pretty amazing. You have full on you're like, no, let's keep talking. I'll talk while I'm running. So a couple of questions about that. What's the longest you've run? Like in one time you've run what?
Probably about 25 miles.
Okay.
Has been my longest run. That was by accident. It was supposed to only be 20. So, but anyway, but
I'll just run another 5 miles.
I just kept running and running.
You're probably talking to somebody on the phone and you just lost track of time.
Yeah. I mean, when you're having fun, just keep going.
Yeah, that's right. Have you ever calculated how many miles you've run in a year?
Yeah. I average probably around 2,200, 2,400 miles a year. This year, I'll probably do just a little bit better than that. Like I say, lately, I've ramped it up a little bit because there's hardly any people at Kennesaw Mountain to get in my way, and there's no dogs to bite me and stuff like that. So, I'm running a little bit longer these days.
So 2,200 years. That's how old you are. 2,200
yes, how old I am.
2,200 miles you're running in a year. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. So we gotta pull up here. I got a special picture that I want to show everybody. if you've ever wondered what Ken Buwalda looked like in high school, here it is. And you actually posted this on your Facebook page a couple of days ago. So there you are. What was the year? 1981? Is that what I read?
Yeah, that was 81. I was actually out of high school already. That was Molly's prom, or senior prom.
Senior prom.
Yeah,
So I
cool
like
thing
the
is I lost the hair, but I kept the woman.
oh, you're not the one sitting in the chair?
No.
That was you. So, dude, I'm digging the hair though, man.
How about this one?
That hair, that's pretty close to what it looked like. You just
This is what it would look like. And you know what? Take a good look, because 18 years from now, this is what one half of Champton is going to look like.
oh man, I feel bad for Brad. All right, so let me ask you this. These are just random off the top of my head questions. All right. Have you ever met a famous person?
Oh yeah, lots of famous people actually.
What's the most famous person you've met?
Oh golly, it's hard to tell. I mean, I met a bunch of heavyweight boxers one time. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of George Foreman. Yeah, Marvis Frazier, his dad Joe Frazier. Let's see, bunch of baseball players, Atlanta Braves players. Yeah, mostly sports guys, I guess. And of course, half of Champton I know pretty well. So
I know they're kind of a big deal.
they are.
Okay, so what about this one? Which one of these awards would you have been most likely to receive in high school? All right, now maybe, and if you won one of these, I'd love to know. Would it be most likely to succeed? Would it be perfect attendance award? Gosh, what's another one?
Most likely to go to the Olympics.
Really? For real? That was the award you won?
I failed.
What happened to your life, man?
Life took over.
Come true.
Huh?
I said those things always come true.
Yeah, no, usually they don't.
So your award was most likely to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I know on the senior trip you've talked about the awards that you've won and how you put so much effort and energy into it, and then they all got stuffed in a box and were ready to be thrown out. So
exactly.
That's crazy.
Well, most of the stuff in this world, that's what happens to it.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Well, man, I want to ask you, kind of dive into a little bit of more of a serious conversation with you. So, I mean, as hard as it to believe, and I'm sure it is for you, over the past year, like this time last year, who would have thought that all the things you would have gone through personally? So you and most of our students know because you talked about it at Reckless, but you were diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was what, last June, July?
Yeah.
Early last summer, right? So you went through treatment, experienced God healing you, and now you find yourself in a global pandemic. So, I mean, that's an insane year, even just one of those things to happen, but those all have been lumped into your year over the last 12 months. So what would you say like the last year has taught you?
Wow, that's a tough question because there's so many things. I don't know that I'd have enough time to tell you all the things that I've learned this past year. I've learned the importance of prayer. You know, I thought that my prayer life was pretty good, but God has brought it to a whole different level within the last probably within the last 9 months. I've learned, learned very clearly that this life is short, that we need to appreciate everything we've got and not take it for granted. The world is not our home. I've learned that we grow a whole lot more in the valleys than we do on the mountaintops. It seems like, you know, we always want to be on the mountaintops and have the great experiences in life. And, you know, just going through this whole pandemic thing and and cancer last year, this isn't anything that I don't think any of us would have chosen. But yet, there's so much that God wants to do in our lives when we go through the valleys. When we go through the storms, we want the calm seas. We want to be able to, have life on our own terms. We want to make our plans and then be able to stick with them. But God has a way of shaking these things up, and it's all because He wants to make us more like Jesus. He wants to make us more like Him instead of, just have us be lukewarm. I think those are just a few of the things I've been learning. I've also learned that this is probably going to sound kind of odd, but I think until you are broken, God has very limited use of you. He needs to break you before He can totally use you. And I've learned what it's like to be broken. And it's not exactly a comfortable place to be, but it's I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade what I've gone through in the last 12 months for anything, even though I would not want to go through it again. But it was the most difficult time of my life. But I've learned so much. That's just the tip of the iceberg right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know Oswald Chambers always uses the phrase that we become broken bread and poured out wine, that that God does want to bring us to those places of just brokenness, not because He's a mean God, but because we see more of Him, we experience more of His power and His strength, and He wants to make us, like you said, make us like Him.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right. So what about this whole the social distancing thing, quarantine? I know before we started videoing this, I know your wife Molly was in the room, your daughter Emily. What's this been like for you, and maybe what's a big takeaway that you've had during this time of social distancing?
Life for me probably hasn't changed as much as it has for a lot of you, due to the fact that I'm still going to work every morning. I'm still out of here a little bit after 4:30 every morning, still showing up at the office. It's just when I get there, there's nobody there. Instead of there being about 200 people, there's about 5 of us. But I know some of the habits that I had before. I loved to go out for dinner. I'd go out for coffee every Saturday and Sunday morning. That's all gone. I learned that how great my wife is at cooking, and my daughter actually too. So any of you eligible guys out there that are over the age of 20 something, my daughter is available. No, they're great cooks. And so I learned that. I learned that these video conferences get old after a while. Even though I love Todd and I love seeing your face, there's nothing like just hugging that shaggy little head of his. Really, I do miss the physical interaction with people. My mom taught me how to be a hugger, and I'm kind of without any hugs these days, except sometimes my wife doesn't even hug me. She's like, "You've been out in the world all day. I don't want you near me." So it's a lonely world right now, man. So anyway.
So whenever we go back to normal, and for you students that are watching this, if Ken, maybe you never even had a conversation with Ken, but he just comes up and hugs you. You'll know that he's not being weird or anything like that. He's just missed the hugs.
Right.
And he's just hugging as many people as he can. So that's awesome, man. Well, dude, thanks for your time. Man, I if you don't know Ken, you need to get to know him. One of the godliest men that I know. And I've joked with him that whenever he's done with student ministry, I'm going to be done too, because I can't imagine ministry without him. So as much as I love to kid him about ending the Civil War and stuff like that, the man loves God and is an inspiration to me and to so many other people. So, man, appreciate you joining us for this Leader Spotlight.
Hey, can I say one more thing?
Go for it, man.
Everybody's got a choice that they can make right now. You've got the choice to either let this be a bad thing, where you missed out on a lot of stuff. Maybe you missed out on your prom, you missed out on walking down the aisle for graduation, and you can focus on that, or you can focus on Jesus right now and on your relationship with Him, where God can use this. Romans 8 says that all things will work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. And I just want to remind everybody to just tap into the power that God's got for you. And the way that you do that is you just spend time with Him. He longs to be with you. He longs to just spend time with you. And so if I can encourage you in one way is redeem this time. Don't let it be a bad thing. Let it be something that God uses for his glory and for your good. So that's my last word.
That's good. That's good. And if you guys need help with that, we've got some great resources. You can go to westridge.com/students. We've got a student devotional that gets pushed out, and you can reach out to us. We'd love to help put some resources in your hand to help you do what Ken was talking about. So thank you guys for joining us for Leader Spotlight, and we will see you guys again next time.